It's your boy Wally Analog of the Established 1982 podcast, and this is The Scenario.
What's up, y'all? It's your man Stokely here, hanging out right here on The Scenario. Keep it locked.
We are back, and now we have 5 Fast Friday facts.
All right.
Give me some things that maybe you did, some trivia that maybe you didn't know about the movie Friday. Maybe you did, but let's
some
find
little
out.
well actually things you can drop on your friends.
Some well actuallys. I love
did you know? Man, come on now.
All right, fact number 1. With a tight budget of $3.5 million, Friday was shot on 126th Street between Normandy and Halldale Avenues in Los Angeles in 20 days. It's no coincidence that this was also the street where director F. Gary Gray grew up. His childhood home is in the background when Debo punches Red, DJ Pooh, for asking for his bike back.
You know what's crazy when you hear that? Like, I remember I've done I did back in the day before he passed away with John Witherspoon, a couple weekends emceeing and featuring for him. And just in his act, he would talk about how I feel like he said he got paid like $1,500 or $35, like some small amount for Friday, in which people are hearing, they're like, what? Because they know Friday what it is now, you know, in present day. It's like, if you look at it, their budget was 3.5 and they only shot for 26 days. I mean, if somebody's like, hey man, here's 1,500, just come to this set for a couple hours, you know, shoot, I would have taken it. It's not like he was dogging people out, but it's just, that was their budget.
Yeah. It was a very small budget affair. And because the film company wasn't like, oh yeah, this sounds good. They were like, oh, it's Ice Cube and he wants to write a comedy.
They say they purposefully had to go to New Line because that's who did House Party. Because they were like, nobody else would pick it up. And they were like, all right, well, maybe this is what this could be, you know, could be House Party. So at least you had somebody who was, you know, used to investing in movies like that.
I'll give Friday this. They put New Line on the map for me because every time I see that intro, I think it's Friday. It don't matter what movie it is. I think it's Friday. It doesn't matter. That's the first thing
crazy.
I see.
For me, for my gen, it's House Party because I'm thinking of that when Luther comes on and that New Line little thing pops up and it's like, oh shoot, that's funny.
That's cool.
All right, so fact 2, right man for the job. Both Chris Rock and Tommy Davidson were considered for the role of Smokey, since it was always intended for Craig's longtime friend to be played by a comedian. Executives suggested a proven veteran, but F. Gary Gray fought for the lesser-known Chris Tucker due to his ability to improvise. And yeah, that was like, I know for me, if he saw that set, that first Def Jam set, and Chris Tucker, like that had to be the idea of Smokey. When he saw him, like, that's who it needs to be, because the way he spoke, just everything, that's what made Smokey. You couldn't see anybody else doing that role, honestly. I mean, I was
going to ask that. I was curious about that. If you thought of another comedian, like, I definitely couldn't have seen Chris Rock doing that.
Now, you know what? I'm going to tell you who I could have thought of. Maybe Eddie Griffin.
I could see Eddie Griffin.
I could see Eddie Griffin doing it. But again, for me, his Def Jam set is the same. What do they say now? Different person, same energy. It's that same that thing right there. Even
and he also Eddie Griffin also does kind of a Michael Jackson bit too. So
it just feels that same in that same vein. I could see Eddie Griffin doing it. I could definitely see
any other comedians. Either you guys think of any other comedians you think that could have pulled that role off?
Not really.
I think
it would have fell flat with Chris Rock or Tommy Davidson 1,000%.
I love Tommy Davidson. I could see Tommy Davidson doing this. Pretty much not a role I couldn't see him doing, but that just in that role he would have had to been. Is
that Wayans boy too young for that role? Was it Marlon? Not the older one. Marlon had done it.
He would have been too.
He would have been young.
You know what? He would have been age appropriate, but I don't know if he would have done it as good, but that's not a bad thought. Like him, that he's in that style though. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's not a bad.
Because what popped in my head is don't be a Mrs. South Central while drinking juice in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And like that's it's kind of that's Smokey. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of like.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had the same level of, I think, charisma or impact in doing it. But he could have given some version of the character, probably some rendition of the character we're not accustomed to. But I don't know if it would have been as iconic. But he would have delivered on the comedy of it. Yeah.
Real quick, I think also adds to the genius of Cube not even trying to, like, all right, I know we're not gonna get another Smoke. Let's just give somebody to take his place, but somebody who's their own person to be able to put Mike Epps in that role and not say, oh, well, let me get Smokey's little brother and somebody trying to be him. It's just let me give somebody totally different to be the comedic angle of it.
Yeah. Fact number 3. If you pay close attention to Smokey's Angel Dust flashback scene, you'll notice 2 extras in the background. But here's the thing, they're not extras. They were actually gang members who lived in a nearby home and refused to comply with the filming crew when asked to stay out of the shot. The disgruntled locals were so adamant about not moving that they even turned down payments.
Oh, they were messing up the trap. Y'all was messing up their trap or they set or whatever they call it. They was making like, nah, I don't need your money. I just need y'all to move so I can make mine.
It was the principle of the thing. There's principalities to all of this. You know, they're not just gonna move for everybody.
Funny. What if that line came from an interaction with those people or something? You never know.
they hit him with that one. The principle. It's like,
that's
okay,
why this movie is so great, man. He really got this thing out the mud, like just the grit, like everything. My gosh.
Yeah, because that could have went left, and he said, he realized he was like, okay, they're not going to move. We can't pay them. We definitely can't confront them about it any further. Let's just shoot, and we'll just have to do it.
Let's see what happens, and it was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah. So it worked out.
All right, fact 4. This is hilarious. The visual is funny. Sorry, podcast listeners. Fans have often speculated whether Craig had been wrongfully fired for stealing from his job, since the movie's plot never makes it clear. The answer ended up in the cutting room floor. A deleted scene from the film's opening credits show Ezell, which was played by legendary comedian Anthony Johnson, aka AJ Johnson, rest in peace, running with the boxes in question that got Craig fired from his job. Wow, AJ.
I'm disappointed. That should have been the movie.
I feel like that it's just little pieces. Like, people can do small scenes and still scenes and stay so ingrained. Like Ezell quotes, you're going to hear somebody say something about my back and my neck, like all the time. I mean, I would like to see how much screen time he actually had in the movie. And he's one of the most quoted. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was probably like when you were talking about the budget considerations of hiring people, and it's like, well, okay, we don't have a lot of money, so let me just get this person, pay them this small amount, and ask them to come for a day or two and do their part. And they did it, but every part worked.
And at that point in time, AJ Johnson was a working comic. Like he was a decently well-known comic for that time. I mean, being in LA and being one of those dudes who worked, all that whole circuit. AJ Johnson was pretty well known enough, to be able to garner that role, I'm sure.
I think to this day, like, and I actually, just in preparation for this, I actually watched it again yesterday, and to this day, one of my favorite scenes is really just like one line from Ronaldo Ray when he got out the car and Devo was like, "What you gonna do?" He was like, "Okay, let's get in the car." Like, it was perfect. He had like one line, but it was perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, and that's Ronaldo Ray, dog. Like, that's a legend.
The Ronaldo Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they were able to pull just the right performance for just a moment out of so many people, and it all just sticks together.
And what else is so funny is that John Witherspoon's role, like, he's the same person he is in everything else, but it still feels like that is specifically for, because if just being a John Witherspoon fan, watching him coming up when he was doing Robert Townsend, that Partners in Crime, doing all that stuff with the Wayans, like coming up, he's that character every time in everything. Boomerang, that same person, and it feels like, but it was specifically made for that role.
I think, what I think that's about is that as Black people, when we see movies, even with us in them, there's always the chance that the movie is going to have a lot of inauthenticity to it. That there are going to be these roles that as soon as the person starts speaking, you're like, oh, a white person wrote that. There's no way, because none of us would have said it that way or said that thing. And so what happens is that John Witherspoon was always playing this very specific person that we all know from Black communities. We know that guy. Maybe he's a barber. Maybe he works at a store. Maybe he's one of your friend's dads. But you know that guy. And so despite the fact that he kept playing that same role, it was the authenticity of it being seen on screen, and with no other circumstance, we would never get to see it. Because if anybody else, who's writing it would have written it all wrong, we get to see it. So it always it's still always connected in that way, from this to Boomerang and everything else. Yeah. So, fact number 5. Speaking of comedians, as we said, this is one of those full of comedians. The 90s film boom was an unprecedented moment in Black entertainment, which created opportunities for a wider variety of actors, directors, musical artists, and most notably, comedians. Friday's long list of comics included 4 up-and-coming performers who had just been filming House Party 3 together the previous year. Chris Tucker, Bernie Mac, Angela Means, and as mentioned before, Anthony Johnson. So all 4 of them were all in House Party 3 together, and it was like apparently just months later they all were. That's how much work these comedians.
I didn't realize Chris Tucker was in House Party 3.
House Party 3.
What's up, man?
What's up?
Where's Kim Play?
They ain't here.
They ain't here? Oh, where the hell they at? Look, man, we had a meeting here. I ain't got time to wait, man. I gotta pick up money over here. I gotta pick money up here, man. And I came to pick money right here.